Okay, so we're going to talk about the miter saw. Okay, so this miter saw is a slide compound miter saw. Okay, it's got a slide feature that really increases its width capacity. Okay, if you look here, you can see the saw has about almost a 14-inch wide capacity at an inch thick. Okay, that's a very large capacity for a saw. So it's got the slide feature. Okay, here I can adjust my angle of cut. Most of our cuts are going to be made at a 90-degree angle. Okay, the way it's set up now. If you ever change the angle of cut, always change it back when you're done to a 90-degree. So I can lift this right here. I can squeeze that button down right there, and then I can rotate this to any bevel angle I want. Okay, once I get to the angle I want, I can lock it down and it won't move. Okay, this saw also has the capability of doing a miter cut. Okay, and it'll tilt both ways. Okay, I can tilt it, and then there's a wheel here on the back. I'm going to lock it, and it'll stay where you want it. Okay, so it'll do what we call a miter cut. It'll do a bevel cut. It'll do both at the same time, which is a compound cut. So when we're using the miter saw, the correct way to use this is to pull it out and then start it. I'm not going to start it just yet. And then you go all the way down and all the way back. Most commonly, I see kids that don't want to go all the way down and they don't want to go all the way back. Okay, so always make sure you do those two things to get all the way through your cut. Make sure you do those 4 actions always in that order. Out, start, down, and back. Okay, now if I want to cut a narrower board, okay, if I want to cut a narrower board like this one, okay, I can make that cut just going straight down. There's no need to come out. Okay, I can cut about up to a 6-inch wide board without coming out with the machine. Okay, I always want to keep my fingers at least 4 inches away from the blade and the blade path. Okay, so when I bring a board up here to be cut, I'm always going to make sure that my fingers are at least 4 inches away from that blade and blade path. Okay, when I come up here, first thing I want to check, make sure I don't have any debris that's like on the table or against the fence, anything that could interfere with our cut, that could both make an inaccurate cut, but also could jeopardize our safety. Okay, so something else to be aware of, you know, I want to hold it right here. I don't want to hold this board out here. This is not good control. Some of you using this for the first time, you're going to feel safer out here because your hand's further away from the blade. That is not safe. You don't have good control up here where you need it. Okay, I want to hold it. I really want to be as close to that 4-inch margin as I can without being too close. Now, so this is a safe cut. I'm holding it firmly against the table and the fence. Okay? Most people are going to want to cut this right-handed, not necessarily. If you want it, there's nothing wrong with standing over here and, you know, and making a cut with the left. Okay? What you don't ever want to do is this. Okay? And I've seen it. I've seen kids try to cross over like this. Absolutely not safe. Don't do that. Okay? Now, just because my hand is safe here, if I change that angle, then all of a sudden, that is not safe for my hand. I'm going to have to reposition. Okay? So always make sure you're 4 inches away from the blade and the blade path. Okay? You never want to start the saw with it in contact with the wood. That would not be a good thing to do either. Okay? So I need to know where to cut my board. Okay? So what I'm going to do, try to really hard to show this on video here. Okay. So let's pick a length here. Okay. So I want to cut to, let's say 22 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my pencil in here at 22 inches. I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to come back to 22 inches and make another mark. We call that a crow's foot. Okay. That point right there is 22 inches. Okay. And that's so much better than, you know, marking it with a squiggly line. Obviously, that's exaggerated. Then I'm going to take my square. I'm going to make sure that I've got my square on against the square edge. Okay. And I'm going to get right on that crow's foot. Okay. And I've marked that board right on the crow's foot. That is the length that I want. Okay. We marked 22 inches. That line represents my length. Okay. A lot of people have a tendency to cut right down the middle of that line. That is not what you want to do. Okay. You want to cut to the waist side of the line up here, so that you're going to line up your machine, the saw, so that the edge of the tooth is just at the edge of the line. You should see the line on your board when you're finished making a cut. Okay, if you can't see the line on your board after you finish making a cut, it means you've made your board too short. Okay, so get you back in here. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. There, you can see the line. Okay, I'm going to line it up so the blade is just to the right of that line. Right there. Okay, if I lift that up, you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to come out a little bit, start all the way down, all the way back. Okay, and we've got a square end. Okay, now get rid of your scraps. Don't leave your scraps up there, throw them away. Okay, if I want to duplicate a cut, hold on a second. So a lot of times we're going to duplicate a cut. You'll have multiple pieces in your project that are the same length. For instance, the table has 4 legs. Don't measure and mark and cut all those individual pieces. You're just giving yourself a lot of chances to make little 16th inch mistakes, okay? Instead, use the piece that we've cut already as a template. Now, before you do that, you want to make sure that it's the right length so that you know you're not duplicating the wrong length several more times. Okay, so we've checked this, it's the right length. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the saw down, I'm going to slide the board right up to it. I'm not going to force it so it's touching the blade. Okay, and then what I do, okay, is I'm going to make a reference line right here with a pencil. I'll even put my initials on it so I know which one's mine. Okay, so if I want to make another mark, then I just take a board, I slide it up. I'm sorry, if I want to make more cuts to that length, I'm just going to grab another board, slide it up to that mark, and I'm ready to cut. Okay. The other thing you can do is this. It's a little more involved. Okay. I can also use a clamp. This is a wood hand screw. I can use a clamp as a fence stop. Okay. That's really secure. Okay. Gives me a definite stop. The only possible problem with this is as we cut, we make sawdust, and we're going to probably take this board and come up against here and then slide it against here, and we may have a tendency to start packing sawdust in here and changing our length. Okay. A lot of kids I've seen, they get in a hurry, they're cutting multiple cuts the same length, and they get in a hurry and they start putting stuff up there and slamming it this way, and then you've knocked it out of adjustment. That's why I like using just a reference line. It's simple, and as long as you can see that line and you hold it securely, it's not gonna move. Okay. Now, let's talk about a board that you should not cut. Okay. So, okay, make sure we can see it on video here. Okay, so this board, it's crooked. Okay. On video, you can see the gap underneath that board. It's bowed up off the table. You can stick my pencil under it. It's also bowed away from the fence. I can stick my pencil behind it. Okay. So we don't want to cut that board. It just needs to go to the dumpster. If I try to cut this board and it's not, firmly down against that table, then as I go through and make the cut, I'm not going to make the cut for you. It's a dangerous cut. As I make that cut, I go down through the board. It's going to weaken, and the sides of the cut are going to collapse and pinch on the blade, and you're going to have a violent kickback. Okay? And we don't want that. Same thing if I'm not touching the fence back here. Okay? Make that cut, starts to weaken, it collapses on the blade, pinch, kickback. And what is a pretty safe cut can become dangerous pretty quickly if you don't look these things over. You need to make sure that your board is touching the table at the cut and it is touching the fence at the cut every time. If it's not, don't cut it. Okay? Anything else? As with any tool, revolving parts here, always wear safety glasses. Always make sure you've got loose hair tied up, jewelry taken off, baggy sleeves taken off, hoodie strings taken off, all that. Okay, we don't want anything here that can get caught in the machine. And lastly, when you're done making this cut, come in here with a little bench broom or beaver tail brush and just clean up all your mess and don't leave it for the next person.